Welcome into the Tack Box Podcast, everybody. I am Tyson. I am alongside my co-host Dale with his Black Hills, South Dakota shirt on. He's representing from a distance here. How you doing today,
Right.
Dale?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I was in Home Depot today, and the guy was started talking about Mount Rushmore in the checkout line. I'm thinking, did hit me right away. It's, well, it's your T-shirt. And he's like talking. I'm like going, "Why did I see you at Mount Rushmore or something like that?" And all of a sudden, I go, "Oh yeah, T-shirt."
Do I
But
have South Dakota
yeah.
plastered right on my face? Oh no, it's
Yeah,
on my shirt.
right.
Yeah,
They brand you when you come out of the state, so they can know where to return you, kind of like the bison.
yeah. You get lost. It's just like send him back to South Dakota. Lock
Yeah,
him down
there's no
there.
hope, no
Yeah.
hope.
Did you do anything fun this weekend? Are you all prepared for? I think I saw a picture. You already have your Christmas tree up, and I'm kind of just still mind blown on that.
Well, yeah. Jane's one of those spirit of fall people. So, it's like, because, you have people with me that I like slowly get into seasons and slowly get, we hit seasons hard. And so it was kind of like, she's like, I'll bake a pie. I'm like, oh, that's good. And she's like, and you put up the tree. I'm like, well, still good, you know, but yeah. So, yeah, we're goobers. We enjoy the tree, and we do a little bit of decorating. And the other thing is, you might as well if you're gonna put the work in to put it up, you might as well get some time. It's kind of like you might as well get to have it for a little while. Who's gonna put it up and then like have to take it down in 3 weeks? It's like, you know, get some
Well, and you'll be.
mileage out of that tree.
I think you have a pretty busy December too, so it'll be a lot of coming and
Yeah.
going, and at least the tree will just be
Yeah.
set up in
Yeah.
there.
It's set up. It's got get the spirit going there. Change the wreaths out on the doors. We don't go like cray cray. We don't like do outside lights and stuff like that. Just a few things. Few things.
I'm sure my kids will be itching to do it Black Friday, like day after Thanksgiving. Is like, okay,
Mm.
Thanksgiving's over. Now
Yeah, I
they're gonna
won't
be all in.
decorate for Thanksgiving. Too short a season. Not enough. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
you've
you just
just
throw a
gotten done
couple
with
turkeys around,
Halloween, and then you're bam. It's like
Yeah.
wham wham. Yeah, it's not enough. I can't commit to that.
Well, and Thanksgiving's like Valentine's Day or Easter. I might do a little decorating for Easter just for pictures or whatever, but like you don't
Sure.
decorate for Valentine's Day. It's just too like right after Christmas, wham bam. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. You just eat a lot of good
Yeah.
food.
There you go. Gonna eat. We'll be ready to hit the buffet hard, right?
I mean, if Jane's
Yeah.
cooking a buffet, I'll
There
be
you
there.
go. There you go. There you go. Yep. Awesome.
So we
But
put out
yeah,
a
no. So we're
question.
staying home. We were staying home because we're leaving this weekend or this Thursday for a really cool 3-day weekend out in California. So looking forward to that. Seeing some new
Judging or
cool dogs.
vacation?
Yeah, judging.
Judging.
Yeah, and then December we're gonna work real hard, and then take off for like the week for Orlando and party hardy down in Orlando. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. And are you judging in Orlando or are you just going to
Yeah,
hang out?
I'm judging
Yeah.
for a couple of days, and I got doing some CEU stuff to on my last 4 non-sporting breeds. So where else are you gonna go ahead and see Blundenhuns? I mean, it's like you're not gonna see that just walking down the street.
Yeah. No.
Right? Got to
Exactly.
be in
So
Orlando.
you go to where they're gonna be.
You go. That's right. Come to the mountain.
There you be.
So
So
what are
we
we
put
doing
out
this week?
we put out a question and we got a lot of different responses. And I don't know that we got something that was like, wham, let's make a podcast episode out of that. So then I thought, well, let's just do a listener question and see if we can answer more than 3 in one episode and try to get
Oof.
to
Well,
everybody's questions that were asked.
I
So
should have gone to bed early last night.
I know,
More
and I
than
didn't
3.
really prep you for this. I was just kind of
No,
like,
no, we're
Dale,
just
we're doing
shooting right
listener
off.
questions. So
Yeah,
Dale's shooting right off his hip. Usually I let him know
right
on
there.
Sunday what we're talking about so he can prepare. Yep,
Yeah.
didn't happen.
Nope.
So we're flying at the seat of our pants. That's what us researchers do. So
That's
we
right.
just figure it
Just
out.
we work 10 times harder than most.
Exactly. All right. So, question one. This person, Reagan, wants to know what your opinions on what should be included in different contracts. For example, puppies, co ownership, stud contracts, and leasing a bitch. What would the differences be that should be in there?
So, very good question, Reagan. I think there might be a back episode on there where we could probably did a lot of talking about that, but I think the bullet points on your contract would be what you are going to do. Not so much what they're going to do, what you're willing to do. You need to have all of the identifying information of the animals involved. So chip numbers, dates of birth, registration numbers, that needs to be in a contract. I think you need to have where the like venue of the contract. So it's like if you deal with me on my contract, we're just going to say anything that had to be settled would be in the contract would be in Bryan County, Oklahoma. You know, we're going to because you have say your venue. You're going to put on there your prices, your terms, and your bailout. Just like everything in there, but don't go deep into what you want the other person to do, just cover what you're going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do this, you know, and that's where sometimes I think people kind of get off in the weeds. You've probably seen a lot of type contracts now, haven't you, Tyson? I mean, in
Yeah.
your online research.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of similarities. I mean, in all the contracts, it's a contract, you know. So you're gonna say
Right.
what I'm gonna do, and sometimes there's what the other person might need. So, like for instance, if you're talking about leasing a bitch, are you leasing the bitch, or is the other person leasing the bitch from you? But when I hear the term leasing, like to me, automatically in the contract would be, well, what's the time frame on this? How long is this bitch being leased for? Isn't who gets to determine when this is over? Is this a 2 year lease? Is this once the bitch has been bred, you're leasing her until a litter is born, and then I get the bitch? Like you need to be clear on what happens
Sure.
during the time frame of
Absolutely.
the. Is there a time frame, and then what happens when that time frame is expired? When does this end?
And I think the biggest thing is people sometimes forget to kind of like put in there is like going, because none of us really deal with people that live on our street. Everybody we're dealing with is on, yeah, on another planet or at least another state. And so, you know, the transport is a real thing. So if I'm going to lease the bitch from you, it's going to be, I'm going to be responsible for transport to me. And then I'm going to be responsible for transport back to you. It's good, you know, if I go ahead and sell someone a puppy and they want to return it or whatever, fine. You're responsible to return it to me. Just kind of like dealing with Amazon or Walmart. You have to bring it back to the merchant to, to go ahead and do whatever kind of modification to the deal. So, but the transport is a big deal. Transport can cost thousands of dollars easily and so you have to like go ahead and have that lined up in advance. Say who's going to be responsible for transport, all of that. You have to be responsible for, like, while you are doing the lease, who's going to be responsible for veterinary care. And you're kind of like make sure this might not be in the contract, be kind of like, oh, does this person have good working relationships with the vets? Do I know that they're going to do right with their stuff? Because if I think that they're kind of not too swift, I might not do that. Like myself personally, like with a lease type of thing, I would really want to like have a few other dealings with that person where I kind of like knew them. You know, I kind of had like a little bit of a gut feel like I've seen this person in action. I know what they can do. They do good work with their dogs. So it's to me a matter of like, all right, you're going to this, you're going to that, you're going to breed it here. And I can assume a little bit like you're going to do what the right with the stuff, the vet stuff. Those veterinary costs are going to be yours while you have the dog. That's those. Otherwise, you could say, "Well, hey, Tyson, I leased this dog from you, and I take it into the vet, and by the way, you owe them $3,000 now." I mean, and you could say that because you're the owner. I'm just the leasee. Like if you lease an apartment, the owner's still going to pay for when the bathtub, when the bathtub leaks. But on a dog lease, you're going to want to like say, when that dog is in your care, that dog is in your responsibility. And you're responsible to bring it back to me in the same condition it left. And
And that's
that's
like,
kind of the general gist.
yeah, and all the contracts are a little bit different because when you think about like a stud contract, well, is the bitch coming to you and you're going to breed this bitch with a stud, or are you sending semen to them? So you really got to think about, you don't want this super long contract that's going to think through every single possible scenario. You want it short and sweet, but you need the important details there. So you got to find what's important to you. And then, like every contract's got to have the legal statement, of like, that it's gonna be handled in the county that I live in. That's the only way it makes it legal
Venue,
abiding. Yeah,
venue. Yep.
the
Hmm.
venue, otherwise you can't fight it in court, so you need that in there. Uh,
And the identification. You need the VIN number of what you're going to be working with.
and there's it's one of those things I just Google whatever you're trying to look for and just see some examples and take bits and pieces of this person's and put them into what you feel like covers your butt on it, because 'cause they're all so different. I've seen some that are
Well,
just, like, broken down so much that it's just like, gosh, if this dog loses more than 100 hairs in a shed, like, I'm in trouble, you know?
yeah, I would avoid that kind of thing because I mean, as far as like, I try to keep things on a very simple type of thing, and the more, just like with my puppy sales, I'll take a deposit. They get the contract and the papers when they pick up the dog. When the dog leaves, the dog is paid for. If there's some reason they want to return the dog and get their money back or whatever, fine. You go ahead, return it. That's at your expense. Once I have it back and you give me the paperwork back, I'm going to give you your money back. Just real basic stuff like that. If before you modify any deal, anything that's not in the four corners of your contract, like Judge Judy would say, that needs to be in writing. Otherwise, that doesn't stand up. Because if there's a question on that, it's like going, well, Tyson, you gave me my $3,000 back, but now I want this. And you're like, but I gave it back. Well, it's not in here. It never happened. If you modify the deal, you modify the contract. That's any change outside of that, like, oh, well, I'll just go ahead and do that. No, just get, you don't get anything, any dealing that is important enough to put a contract on is important enough to keep that contract current and germane to that dealing. It's an important thing. So, and you need to keep your contract and you need to like get it signed and you need to have it there so you can keep it in the file that you're keeping on that dog. So if there's any question on that later on that, hey, AKC's calling about this, something to do with this litter of puppies. Well, I wasn't the breeder on that litter, or I did this stud service or whatever. Just keep your stuff where you have it.
Is there any this is just where my mind goes, is there any issues have you seen or heard of any issues where it's like the contract signed, but it's not notarized, so somebody tries to fight it because it wasn't notarized? Or is that not really matter in, like, a small claims court situation?
Notarizing is not really necessary for normal deals, normal arrangements. Heck, you can lease an apartment without having it notarized. I mean, I think when you're talking about notarizing, I think that's probably some pretty heavy duty stuff. That's probably, I'm not, maybe a car, maybe that kind of thing. Maybe a car, maybe a house. I think, but most of the stuff you could do, just have your stuff. I do carbon contracts where it's like and I fill it all out. We sign them both. I keep the original. They take the copy, and off we go. And
They still have
sometimes
carbon
that's
paper?
helpful. Yeah, well, it's not like a sheet of carbon. It's just like two sheets, but the first will go transfer onto it by pressure. It's not like there's a sheet of carbon paper in between it. I might be saying it wrong. I mean, it was probably kept near my fax machine.
Yeah, that's what I
But
was thinking. It's like you
right.
pulled that right off your
But
fax.
there are two-page contracts, folks, that they're very modern, very, very now, and you just write on the top and it goes through on the bottom as if by magic. It's not carbon.
Yeah. Alright. Kay wants to know some general tips on groomings. For example, how to handle tear stains, types of brushes, and grooming products that do great. I think she just wants
Okay.
your expertise on grooming, what you
Hey,
like.
all right. So here's the thing. Your grooming stuff it's individual to the dog. So if your dog's coat type, you need to research where you're wanting to go with that dog's coat. If you're wanting products that are going to be like really good for a terrier coat, that's not going to be what you're going to want for a dog with a silk coat, right? And you're not going to, there's like tons of information on YouTube, but, and stuff where you can see on your breed. And then I would say, And like some people, like Jane's a product person. I'm not so much a product person. I think products are important, but I think actually doing it is more important. I think going and exercising is more important than your outfit you wear while you're exercising. The actual act of actually doing it super is the largest part of your value. But products can be very important, especially they can enhance things like that. And especially if it's like if your dog, say you have a silky coat dog, but you want a little more volume. You want it just to be a little bit more. Well, then you might work with that. You kind of like find out what the coat's lacking, find out where you're wanting to go with that, and then kind of work with that. If it's hairs of different color, you know, what works good on a white coat, what works that. One thing I kind of think is kind of a fallacy of is whitening shampoos. I think whitening shampoos are a big joke. Whitening shampoos do not remove stain from your dog's coat. Whitening shampoos will only brighten what is already white, but they don't actually make stained hair white. That's a bleaching process. The whitening shampoos just pick up. So what happens is people get dogs a little bit stained and they'll go, well, I like to go ahead and use a whitening shampoo to tame my piss yellow dog, which because we haven't kept it up. So now I'm going to break into this really great product with tons of bluing in it, purple shimmer lights or whatever. And now my dog, because its hair is damaged, because it's stained, and that hair is raw and open, I'm going to slather it up with a bunch of bluing. And now my dog's going to be purple and stained and have hair like straw. You got first condition it. And then like whitening shampoos are to enhance white that's already there. We kind of figure out what your coat needs, figure out what your breed needs. And then as far as like you're a product person, you like certain, dig into that. I use whatever Jane buys and go, that's cool. That's good. I like that, but the biggest thing is doing it, digging in, doing
Yeah.
it. Whatever the brush is you're going to use, pick up the damn brush and use it. And you'd be amazed how magical it is.
Yeah, I don't know, like, a pin brush, but I mean, that I was like, yeah, everybody should have a pin brush, I feel like, I mean, that's just kinda what you use to brush your dog, like
A soft slicker. I like a nice
yeah.
soft slicker to go through there, take out stuff. I mean, is that and then, your good metal comb, your steel comb, I
And
mean,
grooming it's so different because it's like, when you have the Japanese chin and, there's people that have the mindset of wash and wear, it's like, they're using 0 grooming products, but a brush. And then you think of a poodle, and it's like you have a tote full of products because you're doing so much, and or something with a top knot where you're putting tons and tons of work into getting the top knot right. So it's very breed specific, and my recommendation would be like, just Google what are the best products for a Bernese Mountain Dog or this, and just kind of read what other people's experiences are with them.
and you're gonna try equipment and tools, and you're gonna see if it works for you. Like I like my scissors that I use super heavy. I like really the old style scissors. I mean, and I pick up these ones that are like these. Whoa, there's nothing here. These are like
I can't
just a
stand that. I need weight in my scissors.
I like a heavier shear. So like when I'm grooming, I like a little heavier scissor. It's what I like. It's really kind of depends as to what you're used to. When Jane had the Maltese, she really liked the Mason Pearson brushes. We would have one brush, but like say you were going to do a treatment on a dog and you were going to put it in oil. You would mark which brush, like this brush is used for oil. So like, I'm going to bathe this dog, put it in oil, and I'm going to dry it with this brush. Don't then take that brush and go through on your dog that you're getting ready for the show, because now you're going to smear it with oil because it's going to be retained. So pick out which brushes you're going to use for what, and kind of like, kind of know where they're going to go, and like with your combs, some people like them to be different texture, the weights and all that. You know, I mean, it just really depends. The big thing with the comb is you use a comb to kind of like check for mats and tangles, but you don't use the comb to take them out. That's like using a come along to take out a mat. You're
Yeah,
just
you're just
ripping it out
ripping
of
it
there.
out.
Yeah, use that brush, break it apart with your fingers, brush, 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 break, 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 brush, 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 and then check it with the comb. But not there yet. Do some more. And I think that one of my favorite things for grooming is if you chill out, just relax. Don't be in a rush. Don't be in a bad mood. Just sit down, plug in your headset, and just do it and be calm with it. And it's going to go great. And the dog's going to be fine, and take your time. If you're like in a stressed out, bad place, yeah, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
no,
The dog can feel that and it's not gonna sit still either,
yeah,
they can.
they're going to be a little butthead because you're not in it. So if you're in the
And I
right
feel like when
mind
it
frame,
comes like, this is probably just me, but I feel like when it comes I've tried so many products because it's like you're always looking for the one thing that just is magic, we're Americans, we're searching for that magic pill to fix everything. So I have a
yeah,
closet full of products, and it's like I haven't found a shampoo that I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is so much better than this other." They're all just shampoo, with different labels on them and different scents. It seems like. I
yeah,
mean, I'm sure there's a little bit of differences in between them, but nothing that I've been like, I want to pay $50 for this pint versus $10 for this pint. It's like, is it worth the extra $40? Nope,
yeah.
sure not.
Quality and marketing, that's up to the determinate who what you think. And so I mean, if you think that higher dollar stuff is better than that, well, if it's worth it to you, then it's worth it. You know, but I'll tell you one thing, like with products that you're putting on coat, it's going to depend on that dog, on the type of coat they have, what kind of condition that coat's in. What about your water? It's like if you're doing well water or some of those, I've been some places where I've washed my dogs at the show and I've started rinsing it off and went, oh no, it's not coming out.
Yeah,
And it's like, we need more water, and I mean, because depending on how hard or how soft their water is, those products can be a little different on that kind of stuff. That's why I like to do most of my hardcore grooming at home and then doing touching up at the show, I mean, and kind of have a little bit of a feel for where we're at with that. But,
yeah.
those things like that are kind of breed specific, dog specific, and what works for you and where you live and that kind of thing. And if you like working with a product, well, then that's probably a good product for you. And, check out with the people whose dogs look good. Like going, hey, what are you using on your dog's hair? Do the Joey from Friends doing, hey, what you using? And maybe those, yeah. I remember back in the olden days, people would peel the labels off of their stuff. So I was like, you can't see what I'm spraying on my dog.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if people are quite as hardcore as that anymore. But I think a lot of it is a little psychosomatic and a little bit just like, have fun with it though. I mean, if you like the product and it works good for your dogs, then and all that, then go for it.
I mean, the best grooming you can do is clean. That's the best grooming you can do because if you're
Good
trying to
nutrition and clean is a big step. If they're in
if
good
you have a
condition,
dog that rolls around in the backyard and then you spray some anti-static spray on it and brush it and to go in the ring is like gonna look a lot different than if I use the exact same stuff on a clean dog. Like clean matters
well,
for sure.
clean and condition is everything.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. I mean, for me, when I judge, you know, I don't really, it's not a grooming contest for me. I don't think that I like, oh, this dog is more. I've not seen any standard yet where they said the best groom dog should be placed over but here's the caveat: clean is free and condition is good care. So if your dog is clean and in good condition and healthy, then trim is just the haircut. It doesn't make or break. It doesn't change anything. I mean, it might make for a better picture, but it doesn't make any difference really. Clean, in good condition. That's a
And the
winning
judges
thing.
and the judges look for that. I've had my chin
They
on the
do.
table multiple times where they go down the back and then they're picking up the hair like this and just feeling it and seeing how it falls and just they're checking the condition of the coat, like
It's very lovely when you can go in there and go, oh, this is a beautiful silk coat and it's so clean. It's not as lovely when you feel like, and now I'm gonna go sanitize my hands before I
Yeah.
touch anything else because I'm not gonna spread this to everybody else.
Yeah. All right.
Have
A droney, I don't even know how to say this name, so that's just how I'm going to leave it. They want to know your opinion on puppy selection as far as age and what to look for when you start selecting puppies to hold back, I'm assuming.
well, okay. I think we've had probably a podcast on that too back there, somewhere in there too, but it's gonna depend on your breed. It's gonna depend on your breed, as to how at what age you wanna start making your cuts. It's gonna be depending as to what you're looking for in your breed. Like, so like in Japanese chin, if I get a puppy, if I get the I go, "Well, this one's not marked the way I want, so it's available right off the bat." But I start really looking at my puppies when they are up and moving around. That's when I can kinda see how they land on themselves, how they carry themselves. I can see if their temperaments are strong. I can start to see the things that they have that I like. Some breeds are gonna be, you're gonna start looking for teeth, numbers, and placements. Some breeds are not as important, some breeds are. You can kinda start there are things that you can do that you're gonna start eliminating. You're gonna start eliminating this puppy for because, okay, well, this one looks pretty profoundly undershot. It might change. I might win the lottery too, but we're working on more certain type of things. So, I would say once they start up and moving around, that you should start to kind of have an idea. You should start looking for the hallmarks of the things that are important breed type wise. You know, because look at your first litter of chin puppies. All right, haven't watching them from being like those little guinea pig sock puppets to now they're up and moving around, they're standing, and you can kind of see their eye placement and their jaws and how their little legs work and all that. Man, it's all kind of coming to life, isn't it?
Yeah. And we're at 12 weeks. So it's like if I were to say, at this point, if I had a litter of 4 that were all perfectly marked, it would be like 12 weeks before I'd be deciding, like, okay, this is where I'm making cuts because it's really taken 10 to 12 weeks to determine, that. And then, you know, gender matters, I think, on a lot of breeds. Like, am I going to have
Sure,
testicles? Not yet.
right?
Who knows?
How
And
many
then,
males can you keep, right? I mean, it's
yeah.
like
And then when you think about chin and gender, I'm sure there's other breeds like that, but with our breed specifically, you generally can see more of the profound head type in male chin than you're going to see over female. So is that something that you can start seeing at 12 weeks where they're going to maybe get bigger foreskull? Their foreskulls seem to be more pronounced on males than females.
well, sure, you're gonna probably in a lot of the species, the males are gonna start to be a little bit more extreme in the type sometimes. I mean, that's a generalization, but there are certain qualities that don't change with maturity, like how far apart their eyes are is going to be indicative as to how wide the head is. So if they've got close set eyes, they're always going to have close set eyes. If they have wider set eyes, they're going to have a broader head. So if your breed wants a really narrow head and close set eyes, bingo, get them right there together. But if your breed wants a broader head or more, if they have like a round or more of a massive skull, you're going to want a bigger set to the eyes. Those are important. Those are, I think tail sets, as to how this tail comes off the body. It's as soon as it looks low, out, because that never seems to come back up. Those things are kind of, I mean, you might have a puppy that might be turning out a little in the front, but as their chest comes in, it'll straighten out. Those are things that can kind of come with maturity. You kind of knowing your breed, knowing what qualities are more developmental and what things are going to show up right here and now. And those are the things that you can kind of do. But ultimately watching them walk around is a biggie.
And the timing matters between breeds too, right? Because if you were just going to say, I'm just going to go Japanese chin because that's what I know. A bitch Japanese chin, if I'm really looking at coat, I'm not gonna be able to tell that for a long time, but if I got a dachshund or something like that, a short coated breed, like you're not even thinking about coat at 8 weeks old because they're all
No.
ideally the same,
Right.
really. The coat's
Right.
the coat, you know? But
Right.
on a 6-month chin bitch, you still have 0 idea what her coat's gonna be, you know? It's hard, you know?
That's looking at the parents, especially when you have a breed that starts out with a puppy coat, and then they're gonna go through a coat change, and the adult coat's gonna come in because 'cause they're gonna have, like, the baby fluff. If you have I'll tell you one thing, this is just breeder 101, make your cuts while they're cute and fluffy, because once you blow the puppy coat, be prepared for the long haul because they're going into what is affectionately known as the uglies. And the idea that someone else is going to be swept away with their beauty while they're in the uglies, not likely. So if you're going to make hard cuts while while they're more placeable is a good thing, you know, while they can still and get lots of pictures of them while they're really cute and fluffy. One thing we didn't talk about that we were at in that one question that we just like bounced over, eye staining. Eye staining is really not grooming. That's a conditioning thing, and you need to find out why they're staining. So if they're staining because they have an ear infection, a yeast infection, they're getting exposed to wind, you know, someone's smoking and blowing in their face, find out why they're staining. And then there's several good things you can do to get them to break that cycle. If they're teething, they're more lack to stain. There's different things where they can do like antibiotics in small doses over and then weaning them off and playing with that. There's that kind of stuff there too, kind of breed specific, but cleanliness, keeping it clean and staying on top of it and then identifying what the stain is about. It's, you know, and one thing I'd say about staining dogs in all of my breeds that I've ever had, I don't like a dog that stains. So I'm not likely to keep it. That would be one of the reasons I would get rid of something if it was stained an awful lot. I would go, I don't really especially enjoy dealing with a wet-faced dog. So that's probably not something I'm going to breed.
Yeah.
Dogs that are puppies from dogs that don't stain as much tend to not stain as much. So it's like everything else. There's a genetic component, and whatever the reason is that's causing them to stain, whether it's, you know, a block duck, whether it's, you know, got distichiasis, eyes, entropic type thing, any of that stuff, breed away from it. You know, you'll be
And it's
glad you
all
did.
freaking annoying, you know, because it's like I mean, you know, like Dale said, you gotta figure like, I can tell you how to get rid of a tear stain if it's a fungal. You know,
Hmm.
if it
Sure.
if it's come down into their nose wrinkle and it's then created a fungus and yeah, sure, boric acid, you know, do some Vagisil or, you know, a feminine product or athlete's foot, something that's got boric acid in it that's meant to take care of a fungal. Sure, it's gonna get rid of the stain, but it didn't solve the problem. Why is the
Right.
staining happening? You know, is
Why
it
is it happening?
because they
What's the
yeah.
why?
What's the cause of the tear stain? I can tell you how to get rid of the tear stain off the dog,
Sure.
but it's gonna come
Sure.
back unless you actually fix the cause of the tear stain.
Right. And that's where like products that used to be, there was a product called Angel Eyes. And at one time it had Tylen powder mixed in with it. It was basically beef bouillon crushed up with a bit of antibiotic Tylen mixed in it. And they'd sprinkle it on the food, and the dogs would be getting a small amount of antibiotics, and it would stop the stain. Then somewhere down the road, the government decided that no compounding, mixing of antibiotic, blah. So then now it no longer has the antibiotic in it. The product is still there, but it's largely ineffective. So if you want to get something like that and then add in a little Tylen powder, like you can get for chickens and all, if you're going to do an antibiotic round, you just do it like every day for 10 days and every other day for 10 days and then every third day for 10 days and find out what point the staining starts to come back. But that is just to get something in shape to show for something. You're not actually fixing the problem, you're masking it. So that's it's like putting a tablecloth over a broken table. You don't have to look at it. It's still there. Breeders, we go ahead and go, yeah, I don't want that. It's more than getting rid of it. I want to like get rid of the problem, you know, and that's the bigger part from.
Yeah, that's annoying to me. I don't
Yeah,
like anything with
yeah.
staining. It's annoying. It's just more work that you have to do, and then it's just like, why is this dog just so wet all the way down? Like, there's a There's a reason,
Yep.
and if you have 2 dogs in the same area and one is completely dry and not staining and the other one's always wet, probably a dog issue, not an environmental issue would be my guess.
Right. Yep.
Unless there's an allergy of some sort that one dog has and the other
There
one
you go.
doesn't.
There you go. All right. We got another question.
Yeah, Mary Beth wants to talk about what actually goes into natural Cavaliers. And I don't necessarily know what she means by that because I'm not into Cavaliers, but I bet you do.
Well, okay, so there's a well-crafted line in the breed standard that says any trimming should be so severely penalized as to remove from competition. Blah blah blah. Okay,
So they're
so
saying don't trim your Cavalier and basically
right,
and okay.
right, which is just totally non-reality based. Because if you took them in and showed them in a totally natural state, they would look like a haystack. So I take that as to mean you don't want sharp lines. You want the outline and the shape. So it's more work to groom a dog for a natural appearance than it is for a groomed appearance. I mean, it's more work because you are going to want to make you're going to take hair out, but you're going to do it in such a way that it looks natural. So that's either going to be with a stripping knife, a coat king, a grill brick, thinning scissors. You're going to take out strategic hair and work to try to get that natural shape. You're going to have to look and see, like, I would never like trim the bottoms of the Cavaliers' ears. I would leave them natural because they should come to a natural point. Lovely. But the feet, you're going to want to like get those feet under control a little bit. And I would say don't take the straight scissors and go cut them into little, cookie cutters because then that's going to look unnatural. But you can go from underneath, cut out the pad hair, and then just thin outward and trim them back maybe 2 weeks before you show, not the day of, 2 weeks before. Give them a chance to rough up a little bit. That kind of stuff. A lot of the grooming on those breeds, you can achieve shape and effect by product or doing them out. So if you use a straightener, you can straighten a wave out of a coat, or use a product to iron it out or blow it out right to make it have a nice shape. Those are things you can do to enhance, because what happens is the dogs that have so little coat that they really can be pretty much wash and wear natural shape with no grooming, they also have so little hair that they're kind of non-competitive. And so there's a balancing act where you want enough hair that you can make your dog be competitive, but you don't want it to like lose its shape with that additional coat. And some of the Cavaliers, they'll have like hair, we'll call them double-sided ears, where the ears kind of grow out both ways, so like those are beautiful big ears. Some of the Cavaliers I got in the 80s, they just had just like hair on the top sides, and they would just be I mean, they're pretty long ears, but they would never be thick, and it was never as impressive. So, you kind of be careful what you wish for. You want enough hair where your dog looks the part, but then when you're not supposed to like groom them into a particular pattern or shape, you want to take out strategic hair so it doesn't hinder the shape or the lines of the dog.
I feel like people when they read breed standards and they see like wash and wear or no trimming required, that they just take it as like their lazy DNA kicks in. Is like, I don't have to do anything. It's in the breed standard. I don't have to do it, and I
Yeah,
love this. And it's just like, think about a freaking bush in your yard. It's like, you don't have to trim it. You can just let it go and go and go.
let her
And it's
go.
just going to be a bush. But if you just put a little shaping effort into it, it now makes everything else around it look so much better. And it's just
You
kind of
can
like,
elevate it. You can
yeah,
elevate the
it's
look.
like the same thing with the chin feet. It's just like, do you have to trim the feet? No, but when they're, this long, hairs coming out the front of them and they're all curly and squirrely, and you can just make them look like a nice little refined Japanese
Right,
shoe, they look so
right.
much better in movement. They look so much better in
Yep,
stacking everywhere. It's just,
right.
and it's not a lot of grooming and trimming. It's just finesse,
Right.
touching it up, a little bit of
It's
scissoring.
just a little bit of enhancement to elevate the overall look and show the natural shape. Whereas I always said, like, where it talks about the chin having a hair foot, it's a hair foot, not a hairy foot, a hair foot. And they have, and so, I mean, and when they get too much hair, like I trim the pads and I'll take the thinning scissors and kind of just kind of get the shape, keep the shape of the foot and stuff. I wouldn't like, you're not gonna do them like a poodle where you're gonna shave it up to the ankle, but I mean, there's like a little moderation. And, I think the best groomed dogs look like it's just like kind of woke up that way and it looks natural and beautiful. And you kind of go, that's great. I mean, when we go look at a garden and you see all the pretty plants, we know left to its own devices, it'd be full of weeds and overgrown in 3 weeks, you know, but we're going to enjoy the beauty of nature. Well, okay, but there's maintenance and conditioning. And I think that perhaps that we kind of need to. And here's the other thing: if you're with your breed, kind of you can kind of say that it's like, well, if you really don't want to have to do much grooming, or if you don't want to mess with that, then breed animals with a more fitted coat that don't need it. They could still win. I mean, it's still you. But if you're going to go in for the more hair, you're going to go in for, more heavy coated specimen, then you're going to do a little bit more work to maintain that shape and keep up the natural appearance. Because I think that's kind of what the whole thing is. It's like, using using your tools, your products, your prep to enhance the natural shapes and lines.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it any better. I think you got that one. That's awesome.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. So, yeah. So, do they kind of look at Cavaliers the same way as Chin is like wash and wear? Is it like when you're grooming, just a shampoo, a conditioner, and a blow dry, and it's kind of ready to show?
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna trim the whiskers. We want a natural edge to the coat, but if you have some, like, crazy curl going on the shoulder, straighten that out so it's going on there, like, if there's, like if they got, like, buffalo butt where they're got, like, ginormous hair growing up there, then you might wanna strip a little bit of that out so they don't look longer. You don't want the hair to detract from the shape, so if the hair is making the top line look bizarre, work on that. This is kind of one of those things where you sit back and look at it in the distance and in the video and pictures, and you go, "Well, that looks great," or "That looks kind of like like the Pink Panther after it got caught in the dryer and it looks like a big puffball." Uh, just kind of get the feel for how it goes. That's where you need to really, when you're doing your grooming and your products, do them do couple of practice runs on them at home and try it out. It's like, I can tell you from firsthand experience, don't buy new shoes and run a race your first time to wear them. Don't do it, because that's when it's going to go, no, I hate these. And now I'm going to suck and I'm going to get a blister and this is just going to be awful. No, try it out beforehand, take a trial run, and then say, "Oh, I'm going to do this." All the time people get to show, went over to the vendor and I bought this new spray, and like, well, that was a bold move, good for you. I mean, well, let me know how that works for you, that kind of
Yeah. Let,
thing.
let
You
me go to
just
this vendor and buy a spray and put it on my dog right before it has to go in the show ring,
5 minutes
not
before you
knowing
go in
what
the
it's gonna
ring.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great choice.
Not
Yeah.
a good plan. Yeah.
No.
Practice at home. Have try it out once to see if you like it before you go ahead and, you know, I mean, it's kind of common sense, but that might not be so common.
Common sense might not be so common. All right, we got two different types of questions pertaining to COIs. So we'll just kind
Mm,
of make a topic on COI. And I mean, super important. But
super important.
so one of the questions talking about COI is, how do you manage COI in breeds with a higher genetic COI rate?
Right. So in your breed, what is an acceptable level for your COI in one breed may be totally non-acceptable in another breed. So yeah, that's not a one size fits all.
Okay.
It's so a COI for some breeds can be way higher, and they will thrive and do great with it. One breed, for
Is that
example,
is that for like say like black labs where they're super hardy and things like that, you could have a higher COI than maybe like a toy breed where we've shrunk everything down and they're a lot weaker in general just because they're a Brachycephalic toy breed. Would that kind of be the reasoning?
Bingo,
Okay.
bingo, absolutely, yep, if, I mean, when you have a breed that is a little stronger breed, and then they're just a little hardier, a little healthier, just have a little bit more resilience, they can take a higher COI, and, like, we had Maltese and Cocker Spaniels. It seemed like the tighter you bred them, the better they were, the more consistent they were, the features. Now, all of the qualities magnified and all of the faults magnified too. So when you double, you get the good and the bad, but hopefully the good outweighs the bad. And so that's where you're going for a type. Your high COIs going to give more type. You're going to get more extremity of type. You're going to get more consistent type. But along with that, you're gonna get the shortcomings to go along with that as well. And so, no, you need to do a little breed research and come up with how tightly can I breed these. Knowing that the tighter you breed them, you're going to have a higher incidence in defects. You're going to have a higher incidence of mortality rate, and you might not end up with as many. If your goal is really, I'm doing this because I want one really fabulous show dog, then that's a goal. I mean, you might can do that and say, well, I'm going to do this, or I'm doing this breeding for myself. But if you're thinking, well, I'm going to place all these puppies, and I'm just thinking, well, then you want to probably dial that back a little bit and say, then I don't want to breed quite that tight, because the higher the COIs and the more fragile they are, they have to be older when you let them go. You're going to have higher percentage of monorchidism. You're going to have a higher percentage of things like open fontanelles. They're slower weaning. You're going to have some maybe possible liver shunt things. All of those things kind of go hand in hand, so find out where you are. And your COIs are lowered by outcrossing. So if your stuff is too inbred, then outcross. Yeah, I mean, you go find something that is non-related. I mean, that's how you do it, and there's always something non-related. You just don't know where it is yet. You gotta find it.
And you wouldn't have to necessarily go that extreme, I wouldn't think either. I'm just gonna throw random numbers out there, but if your breedings and everything in your house is like a 30 COI, go find something that's got a 5 COI and you're gonna breed them to get like it doesn't have to be a 0, just find something that's way lower and you're gonna be able to smush it in between there and
You're gonna find what works for you and your breed, and then you're gonna look at the individual animals because the thing is, the COIs are also an average, right? It's an average. Like you can go ahead and say, we did this and this, and these came out great, these all died. There's an average to it, so I mean, it's not like, oh, well, if you go over a 22 and your COIs, half of your puppies are gonna die. No, might not. You might be able to really breed them tight. But at one point, you will lose your productivity and your overall litter health. So you really have to kind of figure out what your goal is, what your breed can withstand, how hardcore a player you are. Because like I might be willing to do a way tighter breeding for myself, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Then I would go ahead and tell someone, "Hey, this is your first litter of puppies. Why don't you go ahead and do father daughter and see how that goes?" No, no, I'm not going to tell that to a new person. It's not worth it's not where they're at. And so we're having that longer plan on there, doing your breed research and knowing what your breed can withstand, and then making those choices with knowledge will give you a better result.
and then like I guess the follow-up question with that or the second question of that is be how do you find the COI and how is it recorded to where you can like do you have to is there a calculator you manually enter everything from a pedigree in or can you just enter pedigrees somewhere and it comes up with your COI? Like how do you manage all that?
Well, that would be your question there, wouldn't it? Because you probably have figured that out a lot more than I have on.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. So, as far as I know, the way that I've been doing it is there is a couple programs. So, like my Kennel Books program that I use, and if you wanna know what it is, you can just reach out. I'm not gonna plug it on a podcast because they don't pay me. You know, if they want to pay me, I'll plug it. But I can get you like a referral code where you get a discount on it. But the Kennel Books program that I use, I would love to use your Kennel Books, but it's like from 1950 and they don't even allow new customers anymore. Like they're not
We
even
don't want new
operational.
people.
Yeah.
We don't want you new people.
So the Kennel Books that I have allows you to input your pedigrees and it'll
Mhm.
automatically figure out, and then you can do, like future breeding analysis and things like that. Super cool. I'm too fucking lazy. I don't put my pedigrees in there because it's like there's a lot of work to input pedigrees 5 generations back. Like it's just like at this point going forward, my pedigrees will build themselves in that program. But to try to figure out dogs that I currently have back 5 generations just seems like a lot of time for me to sit and put it in. So that brings up there's a website called Breed Archive, and I believe they have it for every breed. I always just use the chin one because that's what I'm in. But you can go in there and you can search the dog by the registered name, and it's like Wikipedia for dogs. So anybody can go in and edit it. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. Might not be 100% accurate because anybody can go edit it. But you can look up a dog and you can do them. It's gonna, if you find the dog and you just click on it and it has pedigree loaded in there, it'll tell you what the COI is. You can do a future breeding with it. So that's how I look at what I want to breed is I use that and I pair the 2 dogs in there. I make sure that their pedigrees are in there, and then I just put them up and like, oh, this is what the COI of the puppies are going to be. Cool. And then you can even go a step further and say I have this litter and now I take that puppy and I want to breed it to this puppy over here. What would they produce? So you can start really looking for generations ahead with something like that. And I mean, so that's been a game changer for me. I've been able to I like going and looking at what dogs are doing good and looking them up and seeing what is their is that a one-off dog that just happened to get produced and it was like great, or is it a dog that was purposely intentfully bred and was doubled down on features, and that dog, I mean, especially when you're looking for a stud, it's like you're going to want to do something that is going to reproduce itself. Well, that's straight on to COI, right?
It's straight on. That's a part of it is as you move through your process of your breeding and your dogs, you're going to kind of get a feel for how tight can I go? Where's the threshold? Where are the things I need to start looking for? Like I start doubling down on this, am I going to get a lot of mismarks? Am I going to start getting rye bites? How far can I go onto this? Before, and then you're gonna, as you start to know your own pedigrees, you'll go, we can go tighter on this particular part of it, not so much on this part of it. It's good general information. It's not hard numbers though. There's not like this number is good, this number is bad. It all depends on the animals you're actually working with and the criteria you're bringing forward, how strong your breed is. That's where you kinda gotta, have a mentor and kind of learn some of this stuff out, and you can see and then when you have your failures, when you do those litters and they're like a total disaster, didn't get testicles, they had sugar issues when they weaned, all of this stuff here, then look and see, do some research on your failures, because that if you learn from those things and go, "Okay, we doubled down on this. What was that?" And then going forward, maybe I'm gonna do that a little differently, in the future. I'm not gonna double on that again. So
Yeah.
learn what the number involving those dogs should be.
Well, and I mean, keep in mind, like COI is a tool, not a rule, because I've
Bingo.
seen, I've seen a COI 15 dog that is falling apart. Is like
Mhm.
too tight.
It's not a
That
guarantee.
particular dog was too tight. But I've also seen one at 27 that's best in show winning and great. So it's not.
Mhm.
There's no particular rule saying you need to be at a 10 and you're going to have a best in show winning healthy dog. Like you might be able to be at a 25. It depends on the
Depends on the
pedigrees,
dog.
the DNA
Yeah,
of the dogs.
sure.
And so that's why you breed them, and you breed them and you figure out, okay, this one worked. I'm going to try to go a little bit tighter and see if I can, reproduce this, really lock in this feature that I'm looking for, or, have a
Exactly.
purpose. It's not, the purpose is utilize it to find and lock in the features that you want, and it's a tool. It's not a breed everything until it's a 20 and then go from there.
Exactly.
How tight can I go to lock this feature down? So, anything
Bingo.
else on CO?
Nope, I think we're good.
Perfect. Well, that's all the questions we have, man. And it was 58
Wow.
minutes. We got more than one done.
We did. I'm pretty impressed we got that many questions done. That's really I'd say we're 10 times more efficient this week than we were last week.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes you just got to do it, you know?
Yeah, power through.
You know what we didn't talk about, though? Like,
What was that?
we didn't talk about how you almost died by a pack of dogs.
Well, they were purebred, so
Eh,
I will say that was, I mean, if you're gonna get taken out by dogs, purebreds are the way to go. But yeah, no, I did get jumped out running and had a German Shepherd. There are a couple of guardian dogs that on left to their own devices, they would just come and bark a little bit, menace a little bit. But they had a little friend that was with them that decided that they were going to that, hey, we could have more fun with this. And they went for it. And yeah, no, it was very, very fortunate. We had someone that was actually a 45-year-old lady that was killed by a pack of dogs about 4 miles from here
oh, wow.
in
So
September.
is this like a place where you've run by multiple times and the dogs are fine and all that stuff?
All the time. Well, these are new people that just moved in, and I think the moral of the story is, be prepared and don't ever count on people being responsible for their animals, because that's a thing. I mean, has now outfitted me with pepper spray. I was able to, knock them with my water bottle and pull up a high-speed internet sign and wave it over my head and made enough noise that the people came out and called them off. So I was glad of that. But it's
Thankfully, they were home. Yeah.
yeah, right, right, yeah. But there's some stuff. There's a few things to like learning how to handle animals and stuff. But it's something we have to really watch for, especially out in the country, rural areas. People kind of have that open door policy where it's like my dog with the world's dog type thing, and you got to
Yeah.
be
They
kind
just
of
roam
aware
my
of that.
property and they wouldn't hurt anybody until they feel threatened
Of
because
course,
it's their property.
of course, they would never hurt anybody. They never do until the first time.
Exactly. All right. So you're off to California this weekend. That'll be fun. That'll
It'll
be
be
good.
great. It'll be if we're
I'm not like this is my first weekend that I have free for a while, or that I've had free between whelping and craft show stuff. So it'll be nice to. I got to get some dog stuff done and tend
and
to the
some.
puppies. You know.
That's right. Get some new online information to keep the interest going.
Yep. Exactly. So, all right,
Excellent.
everybody, thanks for joining us on this episode of the Tac Box Podcast. Episode 50 is coming up. We're planning a huge episode. I'm going to somehow talk
Huge.
Jane into being on, so you guys will get to hear from her, and we're going to have a fire topic. So, appreciate each and every one of you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, like it, share it out. It really helps us when you share it out. I notice when the more shares we have, the faster we grow. So, if you could help us share it out, that'd be great. And we will talk to you guys all soon. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.